So this one's going to be a bit depressing because for me anyway, it's just overall such a downgrade. Today we are looking at the new Sisters of Battle Combat Patrol and Battleforce box, both of which were announced the other week, and both of which just feel really rather bare bones to me. So yes, the new Adepta Sororitas Codex got announced at the preview show earlier this month, and it is coming alongside a brand new Canoness with a jump pack, and joining her is of course a new Combat Patrol and a brand new Battle Force, the Army of Faith. Now, the current Combat Patrol is admittedly a little bit of a hodgepodge of randomly sized units. It is made up of a Canoness, a Rhino, a Repentia Superior, a Penitent Engine, 3 Arco-Flagellants, 4 Sisters Repentia, 5 Seraphim, and 10 Battle Sisters. So it is a little bit weird. It's just because of how these sisters were re-released back when they came out again in 2019, I want to say, which sounds ages ago to me, but I think that's when it was. So this is sort of based on that, and so those squad sizes are a little bit strange, and the index does have those specific squad sizes purely because of this loadout and that box. I do fully expect in the new codex that some of those will be cut down and removed and combined together. Something like the Arco-Flagellants won't be in a unit of 3 anymore. They will probably just be a unit of 5, or more likely a unit of 10 in their squads now. But in terms of overall value from this older box, being the £95 that it costs you, it got you a really solid 455 points worth of models, which is actually quite good. And then in terms of the savings, you did really well out of it. Obviously, there's a bit of rough math work required here because you can't get things like Arco-Flagellants in a box of 3. But if we consider 10 Sisters is £37.50, a Canoness is £25, 5 Seraphim is £37.50, a Rhino is £37.50, and then if we work out the rough price of 1 Penitent Engine, 3 Arco-Flagellants, and 4 Sisters Repentia, we can say that they would be together around £40 or so, roughly. So you are getting about £175 worth of models for that £95 price tag, which is actually incredibly good value, netting you a saving of around 45%. Now the models are monopose, and as I said, they do come in that slightly odd squad size, so that is a potential downside, but I think for starting a new Sisters of Battle army, getting one of these, or even better in my opinion, getting 2 of them for still under £200, got you a really solid, interesting, exciting, fun to build, fun to paint, fun to put on the table 1,000-point list once you'd added an enhancement or 2 on the Canonesses. So I always really liked this Combat Patrol. I thought it was great despite its slight quirks in the unit sizes, but now their new Combat Patrol is this, and as you can see, if nothing else, it has lost a load of content. It is now made up of a Canoness, 10 Battle Sisters, 5 Celestian Sacrosancts, and 10 Arco-Flagellants. So you've lost the Penitent Engine, the Rhino, the Seraphim, and all you've really gained by comparison is the 5 Sacrosancts. It will still likely be the same £95, and compared to the old 455 points you got in the original box, this new box is getting you just 370 points. So it's a whole 85 points less, and of course, no fun vehicle units like the Rhino or the Penitent Engine. So it just looks and feels much more anemic compared to the older one, despite having some slightly more sensible unit sizes in it. In terms of price as well, the value of this new box is sitting at £135, so it is still a saving. It's just much less. It's saving you around £40 now compared to the roughly £80 that you were saving with the old box. And I mean, yes, that still does get you basically the Battle Sisters squad for free, that is true, and it is still the standard GW 30% or so saving. In fact, almost on the dot, it's actually 70.3% of the price of these kits all separately, so it's not really any worse per se than the other boxes we've seen from 10th edition. It's just, for me, this one feels like such a big downgrade because comparatively, the old box was so well designed and so good, got you so many points, and was such good value financially. And I mean, if you consider them side by side for the same price, if you got 2 of each, you would be looking at the new version with 2 Canonesses, 20 Sisters, 20 Flagellants, and 10 Sacrosants, compared to the old boxes where if you got 2 of them, you would have 2 Canonesses, 20 Sisters, 6 Flagellants, 2 5-strong Squads of Repentia with their Superior, 2 Penitent Engines, 2 Rhinos, and a squad of 10 Seraphim. It is just so much less impressive when you hold them up side by side. And to be honest, it's not even just the value financially or the value points wise either. To me, it just feels less exciting. The new Combat Patrol just looks a bit boring to me. And I mean, yes, I would say the Sacrosants are quite cool, but things like the Seraphim, the Penitent Engine are just so much more interesting. And even the Rhino, as boring as it may be, it's so useful to a Sisters army. In terms of starting a brand new force, the old one kind of got you off on a really, really good foot. This new one feels like you are just going to need so much more in addition to the Combat Patrol to actually make a half-decent workable force from the get-go. So for me, just overall, it is such a big downgrade. It's less value, it's less points, the models are less interesting, and I personally can't see any situation where you would want to grab the new box over the old one. We also got to see the brand new Battleforce, the Army of Faith. This is your bigger, probably around £135 to £140 price box, and this is your first place to get the new Jump Pack Canoness, and she comes alongside 15 other Jump Sisters, either built as the Seraphim or the Zephyrim, and then also some great range support in the form of the Exorcist tank. The problem with this box is that, again, like the Combat Patrol, it just doesn't feel great. In terms of models, the Seraphim are cool, as is the Exorcist, but it still feels a little bit muddled up. 16 jump infantry and then a big long-range tank. It just doesn't quite go as well together as you would maybe hope, I don't think. And then in terms of costing, I've put this at £135, although with the upcoming GW price increases, I'm feeling 140 might be more likely at the very minimum, but if we play it safe for now and say this is still going to be a 135, in terms of the box, you are getting the Canoness, probably still around £25, 3 Seraphim squads, which come to a total of £112.50, and then the Exorcist tank, which is a £55 kit. So that means a total value of around £192.50, so a saving of £57, so you're basically going to be getting the Exorcist for free. This is percentage-wise about 30% again, so as always, not outside the usual limits, although it's worth noting if this does end up being slightly more expensive at £140, then it will actually drop to being under a 30% saving, so it will actually be a little bit worse than pretty much all the other Battleforce or Combat Patrol sets that we've seen in 10th edition. And then in terms of the actual points, the Jump Canoness will probably not be too much different from a regular Canoness, so we will stick with her 50 points. Seraphim are 70 points for 5, so 210 points for the 15 of them. And then the Exorcist is currently 180, so all in, this new Battleforce will get you around 440 points, which, to be honest, isn't a huge amount for a £135, £140 Battleforce set, and in fact, if you have noticed, it is even less points than the old £95 Combat Patrol. So for me, both these boxes just seem very, very disappointing. They are very lacking in terms of the model content, they are quite poor in terms of savings, and they are just both far, far worse than the old Combat Patrol. Neither of them feel particularly logical in terms of the contents. Sisters like having rhinos and vehicles to support their troops and their army, so the Combat Patrol not having at least a rhino is really annoying to me, but then equally, the Battleforce does have that vehicle in the Exorcist, but then it also has 16 jump infantry, and they don't really synergize all that well. I feel like they could have looked at both those boxes and swapped a few things around just to make each one feel a bit more logical and make a bit more sense. But even then, in my opinion, if you want to start a Sisters army or you want to get some more Sisters anytime soon prior to the new codex, I would 100% be looking for that old combat patrol and picking that up while you still can. And that is the new Sisters Combat Patrol and Battleforce. As always, I'd love to know what you think of them and whether you will be picking either of them up. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.